Okay, it is May 19th, 2022. What we got going on today is I have planting my summer beans, peas, and okra, and cantaloupes and watermelon. So I just took a bunch of the bush beans that I wanted to grow. There is some zipper cream peas, some half runners, some purple hull peas, some bush limas in here, and some bush green beans. And I have 2 rows that I'm going to just randomly put all these in together. And then over here I have some climbers, and these are going to be my Christmas limas, some other climbing lima beans like a small butter bean. I've got some Kentucky Wonders in here, and just a few random, I got some black beans in here as well. Trail of Tears, and some other heirloom black beans that my neighbor gave me that someone saved a long time ago. So these are going to be my runners. I'm going to plant them on a row with trellis. And these are my bush beans, my summer bush beans that I'm going to be planting out, and peas. And then in here I got some cucumbers, some cantaloupes, and a variety of watermelons. Some of the watermelons that are in here are sugar babies, petite yellow. I think there's some crimsons. Also got a few sunflowers to throw in the beds as well in there. So got a variety of different watermelons and melons in there. And then in here I have a variety of okra. So in here I've got some jambalaya, some red okra, red burgundy okra, some jambalaya, I don't know if I said that or not, and some green velvet, and also your standard Clemson spineless. So I'll be planting these as well. So that's what we are doing this morning, getting our summer stuff in the ground. Talk to you later. So this is the bed I just pulled up my Kennebec potatoes out of a couple weeks ago, and it's about probably 24 to 27 inches wide and about 8 to 9 feet long. Looks kind of more like 9, maybe 9.5. And I just tilled it up. I just basically raked across it with my my weeding hoe, and then I put down a layer of Job's organic fertilizer. And before I did that, I had wet it down about 30 minutes ago, and then I came back out here and put down Job's organic fertilizer. And now I'm wetting it down again after I roughed up the soil after fertilizing. And I am about to plant my peas in here, my summer peas and beans that I have. Going to be some bush green beans, some purple hull peas, some zipper peas, some cream 40s, and some bush limas. So I'm about to plant these in the ground, and then we'll move on to the next bed. Okay, we are done packing this row. And on this first row in the front, I got some green bush beans. And then the next couple of rows are white lima bush beans. I don't know if those are the Henderson or the Ford hooks, but they are alternated with the zipper creams in this area, along with the white butter peas. And then it goes to where it's just zipper cream peas, and then back there where the where that pink sign is, it starts the purple hulls, and it goes purple hulls all the way back. So this is how many beans I have left. The brown ones are green beans, and the rest of those are purple hulls. So I am going to go ahead and soak some more peas. I've got a bag of cream 40s that I'm going to soak for a little bit while I'm planting some of the lima beans. and pole beans so that I'll have enough for this row over here. So this shorter row will be my other row that I'm going to be doing. It's going to have cream 40s and purple holes in here. And if you can see the layout, right here in the shorter bed, I got some more of those yellow wax bush beans on the outside, and then I've got cucumbers on the inside. And then that's my corner bed. You can see I got a lot of weed eating to do in here. I've been knocking down the weeds. That's my tomato plant row, blueberry bushes, and then next to that, this is where my red Pontiacs were planted that I just pulled up. And my red Pontiacs in this row, I planted them a little bit after the white Kennebecks, and I let them go longer. And they don't, these two rows that I'm planting these summer peas in don't get a lot of water, which is why I wanted to go ahead and soak them. In the springtime, I don't soak my beans, my green beans and all that. I usually plant them in cells and then transplant them. But since these are in these beds that don't get that much water, I wanted to go ahead and soak them and then soak the ground and re-soak them again to get them off to a good start. Because once these summer peas are established, they don't lack a lot of water. So they'll do good in these two little rows here. And this end gets a little bit more water, and that end over there gets a little bit more water. But they tend to do really good in hot, dry climates, which is why we grow them in Florida in the hotter part of the summer. So that's that. And then I'm about to weed. This row right here is my winter squash, which ain't doing very well. It usually takes off. I usually can grow some spaghetti squash, which is what's growing right there and hanging right there, in the spring. But the majority of my other squash, it takes a little longer in the season for them to get going, and then they produce all the way to the freeze. So what we got right here is, I believe this is what they called the Illinois squash that I planted. I planted a couple of them. I don't remember what all. I got to go back and look at my videos and look at my seeds. But I've got that one. And then as you can see, they're kind of got some mildew going on. And this row don't get hardly any water either. So I'm going to interplant this row with some lima beans, with some Christmas limas, just to have some things growing in between. I do have a this is a pink half runner that volunteered from last year, and it's just one bean that started growing, that was growing in this row last year, and I've already picked probably 20 beans off this one little plant here, and you can see it's got another one that's about to be ready. But I'm gonna go ahead and plant some lima beans in this row and weed this row. And you can see there's a volunteer sweet potato right there. And then I'm gonna clean out my pea row right here and plant the rest of my climbing beans in there. And that's another row that don't get but a little bit of the sprinkler, so I'll have to keep it wet for a little bit and kind of throw some water on it here and there as I come out and harvest and do things like that. So that's where we're at. I'm gonna go ahead and soak these cream 40s and start working on this row to plant some limas in between these squash. And I'll take you back when we get to the next step. Okay, we are done planting the lima beans and Kentucky Wonders in this little squash bed here. I've got about 5 squash plants in here. Got a couple butternut squash and a Illinois squash, and it says that one right there is a Blue Bayou pumpkin. So my thought is, I know that these lima beans will help these squash fix the pH and the nitrogen and everything for them, and also these Christmas limas have such vigorous vines that they will grow. They will help hold these squash vines on this trellis, and they'll also grow in the shade underneath and all intertwined with these squash plants. So squash, pumpkins, and beans are a companion plant. And also by me weeding and coming in here and refertilizing this bed, it'll help these squash out as well. And I have some spaghetti squash seeds that I saved a few weeks back from our dinner that are dried out, that I'm going to pop a few more in here to see if they'll come up, just to try to get some more spaghetti squash going. I do have stuff planted in other areas of the garden. And I also will probably, I think I still have some red curry squash seeds that I want to plant in here, see if I can get them going for later in the season. So our runner beans are all planted, and I interplanted these Christmas limas with those dark brown lima beans or Hendersons. I've had those for a long time. I haven't had any luck with them germinating for the last few years, so I just wanted to go ahead and stuff them right next to the other lima beans to plant them and get rid of them, and if they sprout, they sprout. If they don't, then it don't matter. So the other ones that I planted in here were Trail of Tears black beans, heirloom black beans, and Kentucky Wonders. So this little bed right here should be getting pretty full, and this trailer should be filling up pretty quickly. So now I'm going to get over here in my little shorter bed and start planning out. Been going through here and ruffling up this dirt and re-wetting it again to get everything underneath. It takes a lot to get this soil. In these beds I have a lot of my native topsoil in here, which is kind of sandy for Florida, but the potatoes and the peas and stuff like it. But it takes a minute to get that dirt to soak through it. So I'm gonna put a layer of Job's Organic in here, and I'm gonna throw a little bit of peat to kind of help it hold a little bit of moisture since they don't get a lot of water from the sprinkler. And then I'm gonna start planting another row of purple hulls and cream 40 peas. Okay, we are done planting the row of cream 40s and purple hull peas, and now we are going to move on to the cantaloupes and watermelons, and I'm going to be planting those back here in this big U-shaped bed. I've got borlato beans growing in here, and I just planted a bunch of Cherokee wax yellow bush beans in there too. So I just filled this bed up with new seeds for new borlato beans, Cherokee wax beans, and some Cherokee wax and borlato beans. Just planted those 2 days ago, those seeds, and I don't see any coming up yet, but there's already all these beans that you see right here is the borlato beans. Some people call them cranberry beans, and I've been getting a lot of beans that I've been shelling off of them. And then this is a Aunt Ruby's German green tomato, and then I popped a few pumpkins and winter squash in here as well. And this was a little lettuce bed that I had that's all gone to seed that I need to pull up, so this will be available area for me to plant something. I might plant okra right there, I'm not sure. I think this bed might be a little wet for okra, but my Swiss chard is going to be staying there throughout the year. But I've got this whole side right there, and then I've been using this end as a compost bin, so I'm just going to throw some black velvet compost on top of that, throw some more fertilizer in here, and this is going to be my cantaloupes and watermelon bed. This is the first time I planted tomatoes in here a couple years ago before I built this bed. But it's a big U-shaped bed that wraps around my garden. Back in the back corner, comes up by my grapevine. Then I got some peppers right here. And then I've got those two galvanized beds right here, which have tomatoes in them. And there's also a couple of winter squash that volunteered in the compost that I just let go in there. And once these tomatoes die off, these winter squash will get kicked into high gear and they'll be producing for me all year. So that's the next thing. I'm going to pull up this lettuce and give it to the chickens, all the one that's gone to seed. And then I'm going to go ahead and go over here with my cultivating double action hoe, get up the last of these little weeds and put down some more black velvet. And then we're going to get started on okra and cantaloupes. And I will bring you back to see, once we get that done, how that goes. Okay, so we cleaned out all the lettuce that was going to seed right here. And I left my black seeded Simpson, which is back there, because it's still edible. And I planted melons and cucumbers along here in this little area all the way to here. And then in this little area right here, I planted some okra seeds. And then I planted a couple more okra seeds right here. And then starting over here, all the way, you can see my sprinkler right there, all the way in this little area that goes in this half moon shape, I planted some more cucumbers and cantaloupes and watermelons. And I planted all this area all the way to here with some cantaloupes and watermelons. And then from here to here, I planted okra again, because this is another spot that gets more sun. It's about getting close to 12, and the sun is up there, and it's going to be traveling that way. So for a few hours, it's going to be in this blue patch of sky right here, shining light onto this area. So okra right there, and then in this little patch right here, I planted the rest of those bush beans that I had left, just regular bush green beans, probably some Blue Lakes or something that I threw in there. And then I still haven't planted anything with this bed here, but I do plan on filling this with compost to the top over all this composting stuff that's underneath. And this bed has been layered of compost ever since I built it. This is the first time I've planted anything in it, and it's been layers of leaves and chicken manure for my garden, or for my chicken house, and scraps that I've just kept layering in there, you know, for like the last 8-9 months. So I went ahead and fertilized this anyways, but it's slam full of worms and really rich soil. So I have cleared out a bed in the front that gets a lot more sun, that I'm also going to plant okra and melons up there just to see which ones do better. Up at the front of my garden up there. And then I just cleared out this part of this bed. I had quinoa planted here. I just planted like 7 or 8 plants just to experiment with it. And it had all bloomed and went to seed. And I just gave it to my chickens because it was too little of an amount to me to really mess with. I just wanted to see if I could grow it. And it was like a small experiment. So what I want to do here is I want to get some started peppers or eggplants and plant them here in this little area. I have started some seeds for more peppers and eggplants under my shade tree up in the front yard or the backyard. But if those come up, then I'll be planting them in that spot. Or if I see some at the feed store for a decent deal that are already started to get a jump on it, I will, because I haven't even started any eggplants this year, and I like to do the Chinese strings, are my favorite. But this is the younger tomato bed that I got going on. This was a lettuce bed, and I planted some yellow zucchini or yellow squash in here, which one has already died. I don't look to get any squash harvest this year as far as summer squash, because we just our spring was just too weird. It was too late of a cool season, and we had a frost, and the weather was wonky. So, and you have to be really, really super diligent and precise on the squash, the summer squash here, to get it warm enough to grow them, but ahead of the bugs. But I did just pop in these yellow zucchinis. There's 4 plants right there that I got started. Plants from my local feed store, and they're actually thriving and doing good right there. But like this whole bed was lettuce, and I've got to finish getting all the lettuce out of here and clearing it out. And I might even be able to put a row of okra in here too. But these squash are going to get pretty big. And then those are tomatoes that I pull. I had my white Kennebec, or no, I'm sorry, red New Orleans in here, which did pretty good, but my sprinkler was set to come on twice a day, and I didn't realize it. So these 2 beds are right next to the sprinkler, this one and this one, and they got drowned, but this one still did pretty good, even considering with the red New Orleans. But I had Yukon Golds growing in this little bed, and they did not do hardly anything because they got too wet. But I got some tomato plants that are looking pretty happy in there right now. And then I got peppers coming on in here, and I just have a variety of peppers. I just planted almost all of my peppers, besides some banana peppers, were just poblanos and all kinds of stuff that I had saved seeds from. So I don't even know what these are, or if these are going to be some kind of snacking pepper, more than likely. I got some bell peppers apparently in here. I got some, I think these are serrano peppers. And then I've got these chunky, looks like snacking peppers. And in the back over here, I probably got some kind of serrano, or maybe even guajillo peppers growing back there. And then right here in this little bed, I planted those Purple Rain Dwarf Determinate tomatoes, and they have suffered so much from these army worms that they aren't being impressive at all. This is my first year trying them, and I was pretty excited to try them, just to have some tomatoes that weren't crazy like all the indeterminates that I do, but they didn't. And then in here, I'm not sure if these are poblanos or what, but we got those in there. And then I have some banana peppers right here. And then right here, I'm not sure what these are either. And then over here I have some more. Like I said, these are just a bunch of peppers. Those are probably some guajillo peppers or jalapeno peppers. And then this one, not sure what this is either. Got to find out later. But I seem to have a bunch of these, which I did plant a bunch of seeds that were like a big, long Marconi type pepper from the grocery store. So those might be them. And then this bed right here, I think, was supposed to be my Poblano Peppers. I can't read what's wrote on it anymore. But there's some more peppers there. And then this bed right here, I've got this happy Swiss chard plant. And then I bought 4. They only had 1 pack of already started okra at my feed store the other day when I bought those yellow squash. And these are Clemson spineless. So I got 2 right here. And then I got 2 down there. And then I got a bunch of lettuce that are growing from seed. This is some spinach and Swiss chard in here, but I need to pull up the lettuce and give it to the chickens. I've got some cabbages. This one ain't gonna grow anymore, it's too hot now. But I've got 1 decent head right there that I need to harvest. It looks really good. And then these on the end were put in after these. So I don't know if it's too hot to, I don't know if it's too late for me to put them in, if they're going to do anything, but as long as they're looking decent, I'm going to leave them. But I'm going to harvest this one and this one, and then those two small ones from ones that I did back in like January or December. I put those in, and then I put these in later from starts that I started. But that's that bed. And then I have some kind of volunteer squash or pumpkin or cucumber. I don't even know. And I don't even know. I may have planted it from, these may be seeds that I planted in here, because I threw a bunch of different greens and lettuce seeds in here, and I might have threw some kind of cucumber seeds. There's also beets. So that's just the hodgepodge. And I've almost done harvesting these carrots in this bed. I have got carrots coming out my ears this year. And then that's some more Swiss chard. And a lot of my dinosaur kale back there is going to seed. And then of course my mint is taking over. I've got to go and hoe all that stuff down that's growing in between. I planted cucumbers and sunflowers in this bed and in this bed, but the sprinkler doesn't hit it, so I've been watering it. I finally got 2 to come up in here, but I think I've got extra in my cucumber bed over there that I can transplant. But this bed is another one that needs to be cleared out. This was a carrot. Those carrots down in here, which these carrots don't look like. There's got some little ones in there. They don't look like they did too well. These were free seeds from Baker Creek that I planted in the back of this thing. And then I've got Savannah mustard and some kind of ruby lettuce that I got as a free seed. And then the rest of this was pak choi that I've pulled out a while back. And this is the baby Swiss chard. It doesn't get very big. So this is another bed that needs to be cleared out. This one was Romanesco broccoli that never did anything. That needs to be cleared out, that whole bed. And then this bed down this way, I've got white butter peas, cabbages, and then green beans on the fence, which are Kentucky Wonders, and rattlesnake beans. And then I've got some more bush beans down here, the Cherokee wax bush beans that are just starting to come in. And then all down here is Kentucky Wonders and Kentucky rattlesnake beans. And then I got some of the yellow wax bush beans growing here. I've been picking these like crazy. Rattlesnake beans growing all through there, bush beans all in the front. And then this bed right here needs to be cleared out. This is my celery bed. I think the celery is done. I might be able to cut it back until fall. I don't know. I'm going to think about that and see what's what with that. But I need to clear this whole bed out. I was going to plant my okra in this bed or that bed. But I think I'm just going to end up planting it over here. And then my onions in this bed are finally starting to bulb and get some kind of bulbs going to them. So I'm excited about that, because as soon as these tomatoes start turning red, it's going to be salsa time. When I can my tomatoes, I try to use up all the onions and peppers in the garden that I have available with them and can them all together in a salsa. And that's what I use for everything. So this bed here was broccoli, and I just cleared all this stuff out. And this is where I want to plant my okra, and also try to plant some of the melons up here. So I'm going to start some more melon seeds and get that going in the next couple of days. And then over here, I just have my collards, which my chickens, these guys are happy as hell. But my chickens, I feed my chickens off of these as late as they hang around every day, and it adds so much calcium to their eggshells and so much nutrients for them that I've been barely going through chicken feed, and I usually go through a lot. but between the scraps that I give them from the kitchen and the vegetable scraps I give them every day, and I've been throwing some cracked corn at them too, they hardly touch their chicken food. So in here I got some different kinds of zucchinis. This one still looks good, like it might do something, so I might get some. I haven't yet. I got some cucumbers that have finally started coming up that I planted a whole row back here. I need to weed this bed. But I got a couple more cucumbers over there. And then all the squash that was planted on that end are already dead. And then I got a couple down here. But so far, the most promising ones look like are down here. So I might, once I get in here and weed this bed out, I might get some cucumbers and squash out of this bed. And here's my corn. All my cilantro bed is all gone to seed now. It's 90 degrees. So I want to pull that out, and I'm letting it go to seed. So I found cilantro growing in my garden and other places that I like to let stuff go to seed some a little bit. That way, if I don't ever am able to plant my garden or get seeds or anything like that, I'm guaranteed to have some. Look at that corn. Something growing. Garden's gonna plant me some beans and some cilantro and for sure some mint, if nothing else. These did not do anything. These are the red something corn that I planted. Got more walking onions in here. I need to weed this out. And then in this bed right here, I had the sweet corn, and it didn't get enough water or nitrogen, so it didn't do anything. So this weekend, I'm going back to the farmer's market and get me some more Silver Queen corn from Lake City, fresh out the field. Put me up another 16 or 20 pints of that, and I'll be good on the corn either way. I'm also going to be getting me some purple whole peas, a bushel of shelled purple whole peas. So if them don't do anything, I got that covered. But I got some. It says I had a couple of these are banana peppers, but some of them look like they're jalapenos growing in here. So, and I still got this thing of carrots too, and I got a bed over there, a long bed that I've been just harvesting carrots like crazy. I got a whole basket full that I got to wash and put away still. But this bed right here was just broccoli, and that whole thing needs to come out, and we can plant something else or cover it over. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and plant the rest of those okra seeds up there in the front, and I'm gonna call it a day and go get me some breakfast, because it is pushing on probably 12:30 to 1 o'clock now, and I haven't eaten yet. So that's what the wild crazy 2022 garden is looking like. We have not, besides potatoes, usually by now we've been pulling big giant baskets of vegetables, green beans and tomatoes and peppers out of here for weeks, and besides the potatoes and carrots, we haven't been pulling nothing but handfuls. My blackberries back in the back corner are doing excellent. My Freedom blackberries and Arapaho thornless, I highly recommend. That big one that you see right up here is almost all of the blackberries that you see, and I've been picking them for weeks. Giant little bowls at a time of these huge sweet blackberries. So I've got Freedoms. I got a sweetie pie. One in the middle, sweetie pie ain't hardly doing nothing, but this Freedom is doing the best. And then I've got Arapaho over there in the corner that I just planted that's new, and then this one right here is an Arapaho, and they're all thornless, but highly recommend it. After the third year, they finally kick it in, and you'll get a couple berries here and there the first couple years, but that third year, these plants just leap. And I'm so thrilled about these blackberries. Alright, well, I'm going to wrap it up from there. Just give you an overview of what the garden looks like. A lot of grass needs to be weed eated. A lot of beds from winter and spring need to be pulled out. But this is where we're at. All right, talk to you later.